Yeah.
And, you know, you asked me the question, you said, how badly do you want things to change? You know, on a scale of 0 to 10, you know, give yourself a number, you know, how badly do you want it? And I remember kind of thinking about it, thinking, well, you know, I wouldn't shoot somebody, I wouldn't chop my arm off. So I was 9.5 out of 10, that I would do virtually anything to change the situation.
Yes. Which is understandable.
Right, I mean, I was that desperate.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you'd asked me that question a couple of years prior, when I was first kind of getting symptoms, I would have said to you, yeah, you know, I want it more than anything. And you'd have said to me, well, eat some vegetables, and I would have been totally resistant to the idea. So that, you know, that there was a real change in kind of how I saw it. Yeah. You then asked me to make a list of all the things that I thought I could do to improve my situation, and all the things that would make me worse.
I suggested that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, you said, you know, write your list and phone me back. And I think you maybe thought I'd phone you back a week later, but I did my list and I phoned you back kind of 20, 30 minutes later. And on that list, you know, I had very few things. I had that I'd read a bit about the idea of meditation. You know, and I'd been around kind of Ravi, and I knew you and Renata meditated. So that was maybe something that could make a difference. And again, with yoga, I'd kind of come across it, and I think I tried it once, and my way of trying it had been to notice how skinny I was and think, right, I'm going to get fit and do yoga, which obviously, when you've got ME and no energy, is, you know, a recipe for disaster. I also realised how little I knew actually about ME. That I knew what the symptoms were, but I'd read very, very little about it. So I wrote down that I could read some books about it, and I could try and understand more about what it was that was happening. On the list of things that made me worse, at that point I wasn't particularly conscious of what was happening. I think I just had one word, and that was life. It was, you know, struggling to get through the day felt like on a daily basis a massive struggle.
So you felt stressed, which is going to make you worse.
Right, yeah. But you know, I had no vocabulary for that, no concept of that. You know, in hindsight, I lived in a state of constant stress and anxiety. But if you said to me, you know, you're anxious, you have anxiety, I'd have likely become pretty aggressive, because anyone suggesting to me that what was happening was psychologically impacted or psychologically caused, you know, was a very difficult thing for me to embrace. So I had this list, and I'd said to you that on a scale of 0 to 10, I wanted it more than anything. And you said to me, how many hours a day do you spend doing the things that you yourself believe can make a difference?
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this question. So you said that, and I kind of thought about it, and the answer was virtually none. You know, so
interesting.
You know, and this void between wanting it more than anything, having an idea of, you know, I didn't have total clarity of what to do, but having an idea of things I could start doing, and this lack of application of what it was that I understood. And then you asked me, how many hours television do you watch a day? And by adding up, you know, all the soap operas like Neighbours, Home and Away, and all those kind of things. You know, I joked that I had a PhD in soap operas by the age of 18, because, you know, I knew everything that was happening in all of these. You know, it worked out to be about 7 hours a day.
Right.
You know, so
which is probably about half your waking hours. Yeah.
Absolutely right. And you know, I had a very good excuse. My excuse was that, you know, there was nothing I could do anyway, and I had no energy, and I believed that watching TV helped me relax. You know, so I could give a good argument for my situation, but at that point, it just this void between what I was being shown and how I was actually living my life was a massive wake-up call.
Right.
And something changed in me that... So
it's like a realisation.
Yeah. And that's something that changed. It kind of never really changed back. You know, this idea that my life was something that I could impact in some way. You know, so what I did was I drew out a daily discipline of the things that I would do. And this started off with 30 minutes of meditation a day. And at that point, it was, you know, these garden recliners you sit in, you kind of pop the arms up and you kind of lie back. Yeah. I'd lie in one of those, because to sit up and meditate felt too much at that time, for 30 minutes a day. I would do 5 minutes incredibly gentle yoga, you know, lying on my back and just kind of doing some breathing exercises. I would start to read some books around health, psychology, nutrition, and I started to get, as this kind of went on, really fascinated by people that had been in really difficult situations and found a way out. And you would lend me books at
that's always quite inspiring when you have role models, really.
Yeah, at that point there was nothing about ME, but I would read stories of, maybe I'll talk about in a moment, of people that had things like cancer and AIDS and those kind of things. And so I had these commitments. And the other thing that I also decided that I'd never watch more than 2 hours television a day. You know, 2 hours is still quite a lot of TV, but at the time that felt like a massive change. And those disciplines that I decided that I was going to do, they became effectively my life. That every single day, whatever, because I'd kind of set it up that even on my worst day, I could do that. You know, I could do 30 minutes lying in a chair, watching my breathing, meditating, 5 minutes of extremely gentle yoga, and I could read at least a page of a book that might help my situation. So, you know, I was past the days of thinking, right, today I'm just going to push myself to do something. I realised that didn't work. And